Hello there, welcome to RTV News. I'm Jane Motoni. After a record high of 22 deaths in Rwanda registered on Monday, including young people, COVID-19 survivors are urging fellow young people to not undermine the severity of the pandemic, as many people continue to lose their lives to the virus regardless of their age. Various agencies in Rwanda still find that there are challenges, including climate change, that make the goal of food security difficult to attain at the desired rate. The news in details. After a record high of 22 deaths in Rwanda registered on Monday, including young people, COVID-19 survivors are urging fellow young people to not undermine the severity of the pandemic, as many people continue to lose their lives to the virus regardless of their age. Take a look.
COVID wumva ahantu hose hakurya.
25-year-old Umutoni Philomen is a COVID-19 survivor who was in critical condition and couldn't believe how sick the virus could affect people that much. Her entire family of 5 got sick, but fortunately they are now okay. She says she no longer undermines COVID-19, sentiments that she shares with other young people.
Nanjye sinabyemeraga.
I never used to believe it until I got the virus, even though I didn't die, nor my family members. But I know friends that lost loved ones. My father's friends died. There are other friends that I know that have died, and yesterday a friend called me from hospital saying her mother had passed on. So this is not something to joke with. I know that now because my entire family got sick. It doesn't discriminate in age. One day you're alive and the other day it kills you. People should love themselves enough and respect the guidelines.
No. Wagenda isaha n'isaha byiza wakikunda nyine twakurikiza inama za leta.
I used to think it was just a flu and one would recover from it, but now I understand the severity because people are dying. Thierry Samuel Ishimwe, a lab technician at La Croix du Sud Hospital, says youth have now only started to come for testing when they have symptoms. We see children of about 8, 10 or 15 years testing positive for COVID-19, same as youth. However, they only come in when they have symptoms, when they have headaches or fever or flu, and they're weak. They always assume that they just have a mere flu, but we counsel them and tell them to always think that it's COVID-19 and go for early testing. Figures are showing us that most of the young people are positive. Dr. Deborah Abimana, the Director General of the Nyarugenge District Hospital, says that among the critical patients they currently have and those that have died include the youth. We receive several people these days, including the young people. They are among those in critical condition, even those that have unfortunately died. I call upon Rwandans, especially young people, to continue to protect themselves against COVID-19 because the virus doesn't discriminate in age. Whether young people or the elderly, anyone can be infected. Psychology expert and lecturer at the University of Rwanda explains how the youth can contribute in the fight against COVID-19. They can be taught by parents and guardians. They can also learn through social media platforms such as WhatsApp and Instagram. There should be messages circulating, reminding the youth of the seriousness of the pandemic and that they're also capable of getting infected by the virus. They should be reminded of the lives lost of their fellow young people because of the virus. And this can all teach them and help them change their perceptions towards COVID-19. Statistics from the Rwanda Biomedical Center show that up to July 4th, the category with the highest number of people infected with COVID-19 was those between the ages of 30 and 39, followed by those between the ages of 20 and 29, with up to 12,000 infections per category. Males account for 54.9% of all infections.
Thank you, Gloria Mutesi, for that report. Various agencies in Rwanda still find that there are challenges, including climate change, that make the goal of food security difficult to attain at the desired rate. Now, a high level of food systems national dialogue held this Tuesday in preparations of the UN Food Systems Summit 2021 features discussions on what is required to ensure that the people of the world and Rwanda have access to good food and attain food security. Mwari Jade has more on the details.
The participants in the conference, which was held virtually, are members of authority in the country's food system. They pointed out that there are challenges to this sector, such as lack of knowledge for farmers, insufficient investment, insufficient industry to add value to the production of agriculture, lack of initiative and knowledge in cultivating for market diversification, urban development resulting in a decline in agricultural land, and lack of high-quality seeds. According to Rwanda's Minister of Local Government, it is a challenge, but various agencies have started looking for solutions.
We are now, there are some key areas where we want to focus. The first one is promoting the productive employment and decent work for all. In that perspective, as you may know, we have limited access to finance for small-scale entrepreneurs. In that area, we propose some solutions. We have been setting up an appropriate credits fund to facilitate smallholders, farmers, access to affordable financing. So the second solution we are proposing that have been started is to facilitate creation of agro-processing industry. The second one is rising income and social protection programs.
Rwanda's Minister of Environment has pointed out that food security will be achieved when the environment is properly taken care of, accompanied by a reduction in greenhouse gas emissions and better land use.
Rwanda affirmed its commitment to climate action by submitting the updated national determined contribution to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, whereby Rwanda envisioned to reduce the greenhouse gas emission of 38% compared to the business as usual by 2030. Subsequently, Rwanda adopted the national land use, whereby it strives to produce the best land use balance sheet for the country from 2020 to 2050.
The Permanent Secretary for the Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources says that everyone has a responsibility to increase the productivity of their activities so that the country can be self-sufficient in food.
Mu by'ukuri navuga ko u Rwanda dufite intambwe tumaze gutera intambwe nini mu kwihaza mu biribwa.
In fact, I would like to say that in Rwanda, we have already made significant strides in food security. Even though we know that the journey is still ongoing as population increases, land does not increase. The only thing changing may be technology and climate change. It is a journey that everyone is required to partake in. Food security is not the responsibility of one person or one sector. It is everyone's responsibility because everyone needs to eat in order to survive, so they are required to increase productivity in whatever they do.
Asabwa kongera umusaruro mu byo akora aho ari hose.
The UN Resident Coordinator for Rwanda notes that in order to achieve the goal of food security for the world's population, it requires political will and everyone to do their part.
Recall that complex problems require more than technical solutions. We need effective leadership, good governance, political will, urgent, bold, and at-scale action and partnership. Food system transformation need to be at the heart of the fourth industrial revolution. Inclusive growth, prioritizing smart investment in agriculture and local economies, tackling poverty and inequalities, putting people at the center, more importantly, women, youth, people with disabilities, smallholder farmers, communities.
81.3% of Rwandans currently have food security. The Ministry of Local Government points out that some efforts have been made to achieve this, as more than 382,000 cows have been donated from 2006 to 2020, and more than 1,282,000 jobs have been created through the VUP program, Subsidy is given to 757,481 families, while long-term public work has been provided to more than 87,580 people who have all contributed to helping people be self-sufficient in food. Umgari Jade, RTV News.
On Tuesday, the Minister of Infrastructure appeared in Parliament to provide explanations about the problems that have become evident in the Water and Sanitation Corporation, as well as the Rwanda Energy Group.
This comes after the Parliamentary Public Accounts Committee found that the 2018-2019 Auditor General's report cited serious problems in the Water and Sanitation Corporation (WASAC) that include general mismanagement such as financial misappropriation, the mismanagement of assets, and public tenders issued using methods that are not proper. In the past 5 years, WASAC has also been found not to implement recommendations made by the Auditor General and failed to properly balance its books of accounts. There is also a problem in the way the corporation distributes water.
inganda zitunganya amazi zikora ku kigereranyo kiri hasi ugereranyije n'ubushobozi bwazo.
Water processing plants work at a capacity far less than what they are capable of. Yet WASAC invested more than $66.2 million to solve the problem of water shortages in Kigali city, expanding its existing processing plants and building new ones, Nzove 1, 2 and 3, with each meant to produce up to 40,000 cubic meters of water. Yet the Commission found that the Auditor General's report indicates that between January and October 2019, they were operating at just between 41 and 49% of their capacity. WASAC has also had some of its expensive equipment stolen, some of it just sits idle, and instances of unauthorized transfer of such equipment have also been identified. The Minister of Infrastructure told the parliamentarians that experts have been brought in to ensure that these issues are addressed by December this year. What we want to do now is focus on the latest values. WASAC currently has consultants out in the field helping them to consolidate those figures and work on all the business processes, and that is what they are doing now. They are also helping them to correct certain mistakes that have been found. In August, they will carry out containment, and by December, we will have an integrated system that will be able to identify human error. That is why we believe that by December, that issue will have been put aside and we will stop making such mistakes. Another troubled institution is the Rwanda Energy Group REG, with many problems eerily similar to WASAC. The general mismanagement of things like assets, not implementing recommendations made by the Auditor General, technology that is not being used, and more. Minister Gatete said this is being solved by pursuing capacity building among REG's employees. What is clear is that capable employees are needed. When EWASA split up, many were laid off. And what is also clear is that people working in such institutions need other certification in addition to their regular academic qualifications. To address this, progressive recruitment was pursued, and I can tell you that in their finance department that has 40 employees, 14 are now fully certified, part of the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants with ACCA credentials. In the procurement department, we have 13 pursuing such courses in order to address all the problems in the procurement process. Assurances were also given that problems in the distribution of clean water and electricity will have been addressed by 2024.
Now, some of the people that were orphaned during the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi are grateful that the country supported their education, and some have now developed themselves through cross-border trade. We speak to Awan Mutabazi Ferdinand, who shared his story with us.
During the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi that wiped out his family members he was staying with at the time, they were staying in Murambi sector in Karongi district. I was 2 years old when the genocide happened. Both my parents died. My family was wiped out, and the neighbors too had been killed. I was just being told of where people used to stay. We were a family of 13 people. For him, being in a country that promotes good relations and helping young people through programs and institutions that uplift them, like BDF, has been the foundation of his development and the country's as well. It makes me happy, and I'm grateful for the government of Rwanda, the RPF in Inkotanyi, because without them, more families would have been completely wiped out. Mutabazi has now been a businessman for 5 years in Ruhango district after graduating from the University of Rwanda and working for RAB. He now believes self-employment is better given the scarcity of jobs. I thought of starting a business because it was not easy looking for jobs, especially these days. Also, not everyone that has gone to school can be employed by the government. I'm a businessman in Ruhango, and there's no problem apart from the challenge of COVID-19. Although it is difficult to determine the monthly income due to the nature of his business, Ferdinand insists that his business is growing faster than it has been in the past, and he's not worried that it will backslide. I thank the RPF in Inkotanyi. They supported us in education, and even after school, they supported our projects. I now employ 2 people, and I also have a driver. It's a privilege that I'm also an employer. In addition to his intention to set up an agriculture processing plant, Ferdinand Mutabazi was also approved by RDB at the end of last year to export agricultural products, another milestone he says he's proud of. Things are moving swiftly. We export sweet potatoes, French beans, chili, avocado, and other foodstuff. And we mostly export to Brussels in Belgium. He says the last 27 years have been depressing for him after losing his loved ones in the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. However, in March this year, Ferdinand got married and says this is a remembrance of his family that he lost. I wanted to fill the gap that existed because of the loss of my family. What they couldn't do, build a family, I wanted to do that for them and for me as well. Ferdinand Mutabazi is one of those that were orphaned during the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, who note that economic recovery is possible, even though the effects of the genocide are still in place.
Well, there you have it. On behalf of the entire news production team, thank you for sticking with us. I'm Jane Mutoni. Good night.